interrupt our program to bring you a special broadcast.
Boom! Headshot!
Hey, it's Clay. How are you guys doing? I hope you are doing well. Got another Planetside 2 video for you. This time I want to do a little bit of a gun review. This is on the NYX, the NYX, which is a semi-auto scout rifle for the Vanu sovereignty. I would probably most qualify this as a battle rifle of sorts. Technically, it's in the Infiltrator class, but it is named a scout rifle by Sony Online Entertainment. But for me personally, I think that it is most helpful to think of it as a battle rifle. Now, there are two types of scout rifles in Planetside 2. There are the automatics and the semi-automatics. This is a semi-automatic variant, so it behaves somewhere in between kind of a semi-auto sniper rifle and a long-range, slower assault rifle. And everything that I say about this weapon is actually exactly identical with the Shadow for the New Conglomerate and the HSR-1 for the Terran Republic. These guns are all exactly 100% identical. Although I think maybe that's not necessarily true because the Vanu does not have projectile drop. But other than that, things are exactly 100% identical. And actually it does look like the NYX does have a little bit better minimum bullet damage. But let's go ahead and get into the stats, and then I want to talk about my impressions of this weapon. So basically, I was really attracted to this weapon because it's a battle rifle of sorts. It's for the Infiltrator class, definitely excelling at those medium to longer ranges. But the biggest thing that drew me to it was the available scopes. With a lot of the sniper rifles available, the longer range ones specifically, you're locked into kind of this like really high magnification scopes. And personally, I have a background in Battlefield 3, played that for the last about year and a half, and I really enjoy running the sniper rifles there with some of the more close quarters action scopes. Just really enjoy doing that. I'm not the type of sniper to sit in the back of the map with a really high magnification scope and try to get headshots with the bolt actions. Not saying that that's an inappropriate or illegitimate way to play, but for me personally, I like to have a rifle that I can do a little bit more damage with. Something where that's kind of more of a precision weapon, where you can really pick targets off at mid-range, and this weapon is exactly that. It is a mid-range powerhouse where you just can really, if you've got a good shot, you can do work with this gun. That's kind of the summary, the quick and dirty summary of this gun, is if you are precise and you've got good aim, you can really do a lot of work at these medium ranges. I said this before in a Planetside 2 video, but I find that this game has a lot of engagements at what I would consider longer ranges. You run into guys and they're a long ways away from you. This gameplay here, we're kind of trying to push back out of this base, and I mean, some of these guys are just little tiny specks on my horizon, except for that guy who's moonwalking right above me. Wow, he's glitching. But for the most part, I would say in most other FPSs, these engagements would all be considered extremely long. Even Battlefield 3, these are long engagements. So having a rifle like this that's very precise can really be helpful. I've found that with a lot of times with automatic weapons, they're not always that helpful just because going full auto has very limited use. So let's go ahead and talk about the specific stats to support why I think that this is the way it is. So let's start things off, looking first at the bullet damage. We have a maximum damage of 334, which starts at 10 meters, and then it goes down to a minimum damage of 200 at 125 meters. So that rounds out to about a 3 to 5 bullet kill, which is pretty important. 3 bullets is even if you're running up to a guy and he's right in your face, you're gonna need to get 3 bullets into him. But at minimum, it's going to take 5 bullets. So it definitely is not something that's going to be that effective at extremely long ranges with the really high magnification scopes. Getting a 5-bullet kill at really long ranges with, I think, like a 6 or 8x scope is going to be a really tall order. But getting 3 bullets in at semi-auto is going to be pretty effective and definitely something that you can do and have a lot of success with. Moving on to the magazine, it has a 10-round magazine with a reload time of 2.32 seconds with a bullet in the chamber and a long reload of 2.9 seconds. The reload is somewhat moderate. I wouldn't really say it's extremely long, but it's also not extremely short, pretty moderate. Now the ammo, the mag size, having 10 rounds in your magazine, I actually consider this to be a bit of a detriment. If it had 20, I would really enjoy that. But to my knowledge, there's no sort of like extended mags or any way to make it longer. Also, you only have 50 rounds in your ammo pool, So I think overall it's definitely lacking in terms of ammo. It's just definitely a downside to this weapon. And if you can't spam it, you can't just, you know, pound out bullet after bullet. You know, but it is what it is. It's, you know, definitely, I know that the developers at Sony are really pushing to make sure that they have viability for the engineer class to provide ammo. So just make sure that you're sticking around with your teammates. Now moving on to the recoil. It's at 1.5 and it's listed as upward and balanced left and right. For me personally, in terms of usage, I definitely notice a very strong upwards pull. And this is also related to its RPM, which is at 261 rounds per minute. Now, I've noticed that 261 it's slow. It's definitely not fast. You definitely have to do more of a pop, pop, pop if you want to keep things on target. You can fire a little bit faster than that, but because it has a very, very strong upwards pull, you're going to probably want to keep it around 200 RPM if you want to fire accurately. You know, and because really the name of the game with this weapon, and moving into the part where I'm talking about how it feels, my impressions, you really need to be precise. You need to keep your bullets shooting accurately. You need to hit your target. You only have 10 rounds in a clip, and you want to make sure that it counts. You know, because it might take you all 10 rounds to get a guy at more medium range if you're only hitting every other bullet, which it happens with this gun. So you really need to make sure that things count. And I would say that it definitely, if you can hit your shots, if you can hit 3 shots in a row at more of a 2 to 250 RPM pace, you're going to wreck, and you're just going to absolutely destroy people. It's extremely effective. But if you're missing shots, this gun can really be a problem, and you can really find yourself not having a lot of success and not having a lot of, you know, getting a lot of hits. It definitely is serviceable close range. I found that, you know, when I come up close range on guys, if I'm trying to take a base, you know, if you get some good hip fire, you can definitely get some kills. It definitely is not, you know, like some snipers, they become completely useless at close range. I would say that this gun is very serviceable at close range. I wouldn't want to go up against, you know, some of the high fire rate TR, you know, carbines a lot, but I don't hate my chances. I think that I would have a pretty good chance, especially if I get a jump on somebody, to get a couple of good shots. You know, especially if you're using some of the lower magnification scopes, it's a really viable option at close quarters combat. You know, moving on to the longer range combat, I have not unlocked the 6x scope, which I believe is the highest magnification scope you can unlock. Personally, I think that this gun is best suited for either the 2x, which is my favorite scope in Planetside 2, or the 3.4x hollow. I've used them both. I think they're both fantastic choices. I think they really highlight this gun's strengths, giving you just that little bit extra magnification for that range where you're most deadly, which is definitely going to be at those more medium ranges where it's going to be more of a 4 to 5 bullet kill, and you just kind of get that steady pop, pop, pop going, and you just start doing a lot of work. Overall, I really like this gun. I think that it is definitely something that can be extremely effective in the hands of a skilled player. But if you are somebody who doesn't have a lot of accuracy, if you're having a harder time getting used to Planetside 2, or just a keyboard and mouse in general, I would not recommend this weapon. I think that you should look somewhere else, something that has, you know, maybe even in a different class. But if you like to be more of an aggressive sniper, if you want to be a part of the Infiltrator class, you know, which has some really unique strengths, you have your cloaking ability. You also have the ability to hack enemy terminals. You know, it's got some really unique abilities to help out your team. And so, you know, playing as the Infiltrator is definitely, you know, something that you might want to do. And if you want to be a little bit more aggressive, if you want to be a lot more focused on that mid-range combat, I think that this is an excellent choice. And I would definitely give it my recommendation. Also keep in mind, if you don't play Vanu, if you are looking at the Shadow or the HSR-1, I think that they can also be really effective choices. But overall, it's a good gun, but you need to be precise. You need to be accurate with it. You need to land your shots. You know, because, you know, only having a 10-round clip, having a little bit slower RPM, and having such a strong upwards pull, you need to really make sure that you get things on target, that you're consistently hitting where you need to hit. But that's about it. I hope that you guys enjoyed the gameplay and the commentary and the thoughts. I'd really be curious to know if you guys are looking at this weapon, if you're considering getting it or not. I'm really enjoying it. I think that it's going to be a mainstay for me on Vanu. as I, like to be a little more aggressive with my recon sniper kit. So, I hope you guys enjoyed. I will definitely see you soon. Later.